Hey everybody, this is Harvey Sluggo Wasserman back with what we got 43 other people on the Green Grassroots Emergency Election Protection Coalition Zoom call, and we are now live on YouTube and wherever else in the world. We have a great gathering lined up today. Lev Parnas, the infamous Lev Parnas, is going to be with us. I'll explain who he is. He's just joined us in the waiting room. And it's just an amazing day. I'm getting a phone call. Okay, we're live, and I see him on. Eileen, and please join us. So stuff that's you could not make up. What's going on in the world today is truly astonishing. And with the second hour, we're going to have action packed. But we have been joined by Lev Parnas. Lev, are you with us? Lev Parnas? Hello, Lev?
He could start his video and his audio if he's ready.
Lev, go ahead, start your video and audio, if you will.
Oh, okay. Do you hear me?
Lev
Yeah,
Parnas, yes, we are with you.
Okay. There we go. Oh, all right. Excellent. Sorry about that.
And that's me. Do we have Lev on there? There's Lev. How you doing, Lev?
Harvey, thank you. Pleasure.
Good to
Thank
see
you.
Good to have you on.
Pleasure to meet you.
Mazel tov on your film. And
Thank you.
I just watched last night the Lev Parnas show. It's from Russia with Lev, first film made by Rachel Maddow. And we're going to speak with you for a full hour, Lev. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. But first, I want to say Mazel tov on your beautiful family.
Thank you.
And your wife is really a movie star. And anybody who wants to see an absolutely beautiful, powerful, incredibly noteworthy woman, watch this movie from Russia with Lev. I think she has more screen time in the film than you do. But
Yeah, she's definitely the star. I definitely give it to you.
terrific. Well, listen, folks, this is the movie to see about Trump and what's going on. Now, we are nonpartisan, and we are not fans of the Democrats either. But it's very interesting, Lev. Let me give a quick background. My understanding is that you were born in Ukraine, and then your family moved to Brooklyn when you were 4. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely. I was born in Odessa, Ukraine. Back then it was the Soviet Union, but now it would be what Ukraine is.
Well, I got to tell you, and this is for the tail end here, is that I have spent most of my life doing anti-nuclear work. And in 1994, I came to, it was called Kiev then. I guess they call it Kyiv now, but to a conference on Chernobyl, speaking with the victims. And it was one of the worst weeks of my life. The worst week I ever had was going into 3 Mile Island, central Pennsylvania, in January 1980 to talk to the victims. But at some point, I'd like to talk to you about Chernobyl. But today, as you are a native Ukrainian, but today we want to go over your experience, your astounding experience. And I don't know how many folks on the call know of you and what happened with you and Donald Trump. But it's the stuff of very high level, very important experience in terms of the relations between Donald Trump, Ukraine, and the truth. You know that thing, the truth. So it really gets in the way sometime, Lev. So Lev Parnas, if you will introduce yourself, Lev, and your publicist, Eileen Proctor, is on the call. But you have had an incredible career that I could not even begin to describe. And then we want to talk about your experience with Donald Trump. So just introduce yourself briefly, if you would. Then I want to ask you an extended question, and then we'll go deep into it. So go ahead.
Is this live or are we recording?
This is live. We have,
Yes.
you're talking to 66 people that we can see, and then the multitudes on YouTube, and you will later be on various rebroadcasts.
Wonderful. So first of all, Harvey, I want to thank you for having me, and thank you everyone out there for listening. I love the bipartisan, the way you started, because what I come and I talk about is I like to speak to truth, and truth doesn't have a right side or a left side. It doesn't. You're not a Democrat or Republican. Truth is truth, and I try to stay away from policies. I try to stay to facts, and that's one of the things that is very important to me. So I'm happy to hear that this is not just some echo chamber, but where people want to hear the truth. I mean, my story is pretty. Those of you that don't know, if you've seen the movie From Russia or LEV, or if you had a chance to pick up the book Shadow Diplomacy, then I was born in a little place called Odessa, Ukraine. It was back then. It was the Soviet Union. We were persecuted Jews that immigrated to the United States when I was 4 years old. My mother, my sister, my father, and my grandmother. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in a little place called it was called Brighton Beach. It was an enclave by the ocean, but now they call it Little Odessa. It was a primary place where all of us ex-Soviet Jews immigrated and formulated our own little community. Like they have Chinatown, Little Italy. This was Little Odessa. This is where we formulated. And I grew up on the streets of Brooklyn. My father passed away when I was 11 years old. I was not fortunate enough to finish college, graduate college. I did attend college for a few years. I didn't graduate college. I didn't even graduate high school. Took my GED because I felt that it was my time. I needed to work to support my mother, my sister, and the way life was around me, it was all about making that money, looking up to the powerful Almighty, and that put me into a crowd of people that it was very interesting. I mean, through my life, I've been around some of the most powerful mobsters, Italian mafia, Russian mafia, Eastern European mafia, that you probably read books about, saw documentaries, and heard about. And I was very close with a lot of these people from a very young age. And then eventually, I was thrown into into a world overseas when I turned 18. There was the fall of the Soviet Union in 1989, 1990, and I was asked by certain people that were not able to travel because of their, legal or citizenship reasons, immigration reasons at the time. I became the conduit to what the people that you now see that are considered oligarchs and people from Russia, Eastern Europe that control some of the most powerful industries in the world. I knew them when they were nobody back then, when it was just starting down. I actually knew I was there before Putin was even Putin, before when Putin was still a KGB agent that then became the mayor of St. Petersburg, before he even became president of Russia back then. And then through various things in my life and taking me all over the world and meeting presidents, prime ministers, some of the most powerful mobsters and oligarchs in the world, I ended up never being involved in politics, but that fateful night in 2015 when my son called me and told me, your friend Donald Trump has just announced that he is going to be running for president, as he came down the escalator, changed everything kind of for me. And here we are today. And I don't know where you want me to begin, but I try to give you in a quick nutshell of,
Right.
but you really, really have to see the movie or grab the book. The book doesn't do it justice.
Well, let's just say you got your MOB degree, and you could have been an extra in The Godfather. So I wanted to start by asking you, Ev, a question about Donald Trump. You, in the movie, you became very close with Donald Trump, and as I guess as close as anybody could be to Donald Trump. And I met a guy named David K. Johnston, who's a very well-known writer. Do you know David K. Johnston? So
I don't
David,
think.
okay, so he's written very extensively about Donald Trump. And he says, and I asked him this personally at a house in Santa Monica where he was doing a fundraiser. He says that Donald Trump inherited a lot of property from his father, which he completely mismanaged, and he was bankrupt in the late '80s and early '90s. He was bankrupt. Everybody knows he was bankrupt. He had no money, but he had property. David K. Johnston says that the Russian mobsters, the ex-Soviet mobsters, who were in the Gulag when the Soviet Union fell, came out, basically took over the country, and that's where Putin comes from. And they wanted to launder their money into dollars. So Trump, who had real estate but no money, sold them real estate at hugely inflated prices so that they could launder their rubles into dollars. Is that basically a true scenario?
Well, pretty much so. It's funny you say that because there's a documentary that just came out yesterday in London that featured me, and it's called Trump's Russia's Man in the White House, Donald Trump. And they talk about, and back in the early '90s, this is exactly what happened when the fall of the Soviet Union. And it's not just the Gulag. The Gulag is it's something to make it seem like the worst of the worst, but it was not just people from the prisons. It was also regular businessmen and retailers, people that had retail businesses or managed big factories. But when the Soviet Union fell, and there was a huge criminal factor that took over, and as they say, the strong survived, the weak perished. They took control of all the major industries and that's what transformed into what we now call oligarchy. Most of all the oligarchs that you've read about or see from that era or even now had some kind of relationship to some sort of criminal activity to get to where they got to. Very few, if any, just somehow made it unless their father left it to them or something like that,
Right.
relative. So yes, then there came a chance they needed to clean their money. And even in the documentary, we speak about it is that one of the ways that a lot of people cleaned their money back in the '90s was through real estate, especially in New York real estate, because there were certain laws and regulations that still haven't come into effect and Donald Trump used that to his advantage. And basically, a lot of Trump properties, but not only Donald Trump. There's another person that's very important that it plays a very big role to what's a lot going on. His name is Stephen Woodcock. I write about it in my Substack. For those of you that really want to know and follow and are interested in what's going on behind the scenes with Trump and everybody, definitely want to follow me on my Substack at LEV.PARNAS, because that's where I write about all the stuff that they talk about. And Woodcock and Trump because Woodcock was his lawyer and he's also now a billionaire, and these guys like them use that basically to launder all of this Russian money, because just so for your viewers to understand how that worked, it wasn't the point that they just came and bought one apartment or two apartments. They would come and buy 20, 30, 40 apartments at a time. So Donald Trump, he never saw something like that, in the real estate. So he would start inflating the market for them. So they would buy 10 apartments. He said, "Oh, okay, now the price goes up," and eventually, charging them ridiculous amounts of money. But to them, it didn't matter because they were robbing Russia blind.
So two more pieces of the puzzle. Number one is Putin. Now, how did Putin relate to Trump with all this money laundering and his fellow mobsters in Russia?
Well, you have to understand, Putin is not a gangster. Putin is not a criminal. Putin is a lot more powerful, a lot worse. Putin is a KGB agent from childhood. Putin was bred and inherited to be a KGB agent. And one of Putin's major things that he takes pride in is to be able to turn people. He's a specialist when it comes to turning people, to do what he wants them to do without them even knowing it. So when it comes to Donald Trump, you have to understand. A lot of people say, "Oh, he's an asset." An asset is a very, very, very strong word that you use. I mean, if you want to insult him or something, it's one thing, but he's not an asset. An asset is somebody that willingly, knowingly knows that they are working and doing something on behalf of somebody, the other country, to do wrong against this country on their behalf. But that's not what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is a useful idiot. Somebody just wrote that down. If we said at the same time, that's
Well, that, now,
exactly what.
just to be clear, useful idiot is a term that was used by Lenin,
Exactly.
not
and
John
and
Lennon, Nikolai Lennon.
Nicola, yeah, and
Yeah.
the two people that use it most is me and John Bolton, and it's not that I like John Bolton or agree with anything he says, but John Bolton also is pretty good at, because he knew Donald Trump very well. He was his national security advisor, to be able to talk about and exactly what kind of idiot Donald Trump is when it comes to Putin and all of that stuff. He's a very admirer of it. So no, so he's not an asset, but he definitely is a useful idiot, and he also is a student. And see, this is where what people don't know, and it's very important, and I talk about and I raise the alarms, is Donald Trump, growing up. He had a transformation. So back in when he was a younger child, he grew up in an authoritarian family where his father, Fred, I knew his father. I used to work for his father selling co-ops
You,
when I was
you knew
16.
you knew Fred Trump?
Yeah, I used to work for that's why you know what? I'm gonna send you. Give me your address. I'm gonna send you a book. You need
Please.
to so you
I'll buy
definitely
it. I'll buy it.
no
But
for
so
those yeah.
if you knew Fred Trump, you must also have known Roy Cohn.
Well, I know Roy Cohn very well, but I knew Roy Cohn not through Fred Trump, but through other mobsters, Italian mobsters that intertwine between me and what's it called? Like one of the people that introduced Roy Cohn to Donald Trump was Fat Tony Salerno. I used to go out with one of his illegitimate daughters, Fat Tony Salerno, so I knew Fat Tony, and that was even my relationship with Rudy Giuliani, because Giuliani put Fat Tony away for 100 years. So it was all a mishmash, a circle of what's it
I
called?
have to say, given the people you have known over the years, it's a miracle you're alive, and we are deeply grateful that you're still with us. I got to ask, and people, this is another movie we're going to recommend, The Apprentice. Did you see The Apprentice, and how accurate do you think it is?
I've watched. I didn't see the whole thing. I watched bits and pieces. I lately, with all the news breaking and with all the interviews, and I'm constantly working 24 hours trying to raise the alarm bells and raise the what Donald Trump is up to and what he's doing. But I did see some parts. The Roy Cohen, some of the Roy Cohen parts were very accurate.
Okay.
When it comes to Roy was the architect of bringing Trump into that world. Basically, that's what I was saying. The transformation that Trump went from was from an authoritarian father that didn't give him credit, because Fred was into Queens, low income housing that had to do with Queens, Brooklyn. Donald wanted to the big stuff, the high rises, Manhattan, and that's where they separated, and that's where and I think the movie it depicts it pretty well, where he goes into there we go. He goes into Manhattan, and that's where he meets Roy Cohen, and Roy Cohen basically becomes his father, his next father, and takes
Unbelievable.
over teaching him. And that's what you see. Donald Trump today is Roy Cohen teaching him never give up, never if And in the movie, I think they depicted pretty well also, and Roy Cohen was also his lead into the mob, because what a lot of people don't understand is Donald Trump, you couldn't do business back in those days. You couldn't build a building without dealing with the mob, like people like Fat Tony Salerno, Sammy the Bull Gravano, and all of these guys, because they control the unions, they control the cement, the trucking, the windows, everything they had to do to build a building. And that's not even talking about the casinos that then he went into, because that was completely, especially New Jersey controlled, heavily influenced, not like it is now, but back in the 80s, 70s, and 90s, it was extremely heavily influenced by the Italian mafia and other mafia members. So for Donald Trump, it was never nothing new to deal in that world, and to
Right.
look the other way, to cross the line, to not to like try not to pay your taxes, try not to always get over thinking people are suckers and fools, using those type of terminology. That was that mob mentality. And then he graduated. And the graduation came in the 1990s. In the 1990s, when the fall of the Soviet Union, growing up in New York, he saw the rush of all those oligarchs, all that money. But see, because the one thing Donald Trump never had, to the point where he always faked it. See, there's a thing, terminology, we New York hustlers, I call me and Donald Trump, we're both hustlers. That's why we understand each other very well. Is fake it till you make it sometimes, but it's just on different levels. So Donald Trump always tried to pretend he was much wealthier and richer than he was. He tried to, if he was worth 100 million, he say he's worth 5-10 billion dollars, and try it. But he was never accepted in those worlds, because he was more, he was always bankrupt. He always over leveraged. He never was cash rich. Yes, he was very wealthy for the average person, but never, but not to the degree, to that world where Donald Trump wanted to be in. You know what I'm saying to you? So go
Right.
ahead.
So the Russian mob brought him the cash. And
When he saw in the 1990s, when the Russian mob when the came in and started bringing the cash, and he saw the real money and the wealth, that's when he started, when his affinity and his love bromance towards Putin started building. That's when, because he always had an affinity for the strong man, his father, Roy Cohen, what I'm saying,
yeah.
to mobsters. And but then he started looking to, because that's when, also he met others in the political world, like Roger Stone. And Roger Stone comes into his world around that same time and starts putting already these things in his head about him becoming president, starting, and those are political things. And the one thing that Putin, and that's what we were started talking about, just to circle back a little bit, as a KGB agent, and what Russia did also, it wasn't just Donald Trump, was they took him and said, okay, he's going to be our asset. Donald Trump was one of many that are still currently in the United States, congressmen, senators, rich kids, rich people, poor, people that are in a different industries and different, that they target. That's part of their, we still have spies that, regularly will catch, and you'll see in the United States embedded 20, 30 years, that, have kids that don't even know their parents might be spies. I mean, Russia still does those tactics, just like we probably do. The United States,
Yeah.
the CIA, we all do it over the world. But so, yes, was Donald Trump one of their, radars? Absolutely, because you also have to take it back one more step. Is Ivana, his first wife, Ivana Trump, was from Czechoslovakia. Back then, when he married her, Czechoslovakia was part of the Soviet Union. There's no way they were going to, allow, there was even, in the documentary that came out, a few days ago, they talk about how there's piles and piles of documentation, how the secret services in the Czech Republic were, looking into tape recordings of Donald Trump and her father, Ivana, following what they did and reporting it back to the Kremlin. So,
Unbelievable.
so,
So
so
there's
basically,
another
so they
link
got so the
here.
Kremlin, so the Kremlin got lucky. Basically, one of their horses made it to the White House. It's not like they knew. It's not like they knew it was going to be Donald Trump and they put everything into him. No, it's like they have 100 Donald Trumps that they hope they could get maybe into the Congress they could get into maybe a position of authority of some CEO of a big company or corporation, or some to oversee some, big thing, nuclear stuff. Though, they never imagined that they could actually get somebody that they've been working on, and have so many issues. Because remember, the main things is Donald Trump is a narcissist. Donald Trump loves money, will do anything for money, and Donald Trump will lie, steal, and do all that. Those are the things that they look for in a person, and they got the Grand Slam, Grand
Right.
Poobah, the Grand Poobah as they call him.
So Trump was basically bought and paid for by all the Russian oligarchs that came over, and they, of course, were all linked to Putin. And that's David K. Johnson's theory, is that the oligarchs in the 80s and 90s bought Trump by laundering their money, and then when Putin became the Godfather, he basically owned Trump through all the oligarchs.
Well, yeah, because once you control them with the money, you don't have to
Right.
exactly tell them, but when it's like leading the carrot.
Right. So here's the Jeffrey Epstein piece, and I just heard this week. Now, Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were clearly, as much as guys like that could have friends, those two guys were friends. And the story I heard, and I don't know if you ever encountered Jeffrey Epstein, but the story that I heard from Michael Wolff, whom you may know, the reporter. He says, this is such a classic story. He says that Epstein and Trump were genuinely close, and that Epstein was going to buy a property in Florida for $36 million. And he called his friend, the real estate guy, Donald Trump, to come look at the property with him in a friendly way. and his friend Donald Trump turned around and bought the property out from under him for $40 million. And then turned around, Trump bought the place for $40 million and turned around and sold it to a Russian oligarch for $100 million. Now, and that's where Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump had a falling out, because Epstein didn't like that. Have you heard that story? Is it true?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I heard that story and plenty of others, and but the important one that gets mixed up, and that's why one of the things I tell all my subscribers and people that follow me, and when we talk, is keep your eye on the ball, because there's a lot of things that go on with Donald Trump. He's like that con man that moves, the shell game, and you have to keep your eye on the ball. And one of the things is that everybody's right now, and it's important to concentrate on this Epstein stuff. It's important to push it, because why I say it's important for different reasons than other people think. Because I think there's a lot of pedophiles, and there's a lot of sick individuals that need to be brought to justice, and a lot of victims and people out there need to be able to have justice on their behalf. But also, Trump is covering up not just for himself, but of a lot of other people, because he had a very close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Not only did they come from that same world, where, we're not with that disgusting stuff with the child trafficking, and I mean that the accusations, but I want to talk about the financial stuff, what you're talking about,
Please.
and some others, because it's not just that Russian connection that he bought. Let's take a look further on. There's another tape recording that Wolf comes out with, but it doesn't get enough play. That should be even more important. Is where he has Epstein in his own words talking about how him and Donald Trump had a close relationship going back to 2017. 2017 is the same time Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America. 2017, in that conversation, Epstein is telling Wolf, in his own words, how Donald Trump is telling him about his relationship with Steve Bannon, Kellyanne Conway, Carl Icahn, Jamie Dimon, and all kinds of people. And then at the same time, we're finding out right now that J.P. Morgan is showing us some of the stuff in Epstein's file, is showing bank transfer for hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars between Jeffrey Epstein and Russia, going around the same time between 2016 and 2019, prior to his arrest. And then you take it another step forward. And then I'm not conspiracy theories, folks. This is all factual stuff that I'm telling you that you could look up in Google and you could read to yourself. Then you take it another step further and you see what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. He was arrested. He was indicted, but who was the person that did it? It was Bill Barr, Attorney General Bill Barr, which also happened under Donald Trump's watch, not Obama, not the Clintons. And I'm not here to protect one side or the other because I think the people on Epstein's list and the people that need to get prosecuted come from both sides. I don't think pedophiles or criminals or care if they're Republicans or Democrats. They come in all shapes, sizes, religion, and so it's not about that. They're all sick and they all need to be put away. Okay, so that's why I think with the Epstein stuff, there's a lot more to it that is also going to come out and that we're going to see. And Donald Trump was very close. And we need to take a look at where the money trail is leading to. We need to take a look at why was Epstein. There was hundreds of millions of dollars that were being transferred between Russia and Epstein while Donald Trump was in office. We have to take a look at why did Bill Barr indict Epstein when he did in 2019, because I know Bill Barr very well, and Bill Barr did things at that time was to protect Donald Trump. Just like at the same time he arrested Epstein, he around the same time as he arrested me. And he arrested me also, not because he wanted to get to the truth, because he wanted, like they say, they arrest the lower guys to get to the big guys so that you could enroll in them. No, because when I wanted to speak and talk out about Donald Trump or Rudy Giuliani or things that were going on in Ukraine and what I was sent to do, the DOJ didn't want to listen to me. They wouldn't speak to me. They threatened me and told me that, they would even charge me for lying when I wanted to tell them the truth. Because the point of arresting me at the time was not to get to the truth, but was to cover the truth, the cover up, keep it hidden. And same thing with Epstein. Because I'll tell you another thing, Ari, because I sat in one of those prison cells that Epstein committed. So they say he
Right.
committed suicide. Not that exact one, but I sat in maximum security. It's called the SHU, segregated housing unit, for the worst of the word, where you're on 24-hour lockdown. You get an hour a day, and the 23 other hours there's a light on, and the guard every 15 minutes comes in and they knock on the thing. They wake you up. They make sure that you're awake. The camera. I mean, let me put it to you this way. The fact that he had more than one sheet, because if you remember those pictures of all of those, there was like so many bed sheets that he hung himself on. That you can't have that in segregated. You're allowed, one thing you can't have order food or do whatever you want. You're not in a regular prison cell. When you're in segregated or for whatever reason, because of behavior or because they say it's for your own security, because you're either famous, infamous, or danger to either the other population or the population's a danger to you, they keep you in that segregated unit. So it's very difficult if you speak to anybody that's ever been in one of these cells, and I have. It's almost extremely difficult to commit suicide and hang yourself, and especially the way Epstein did. So with what's going on right now, I think the cover up is a lot worse.
Yes, as was Watergate.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Let me very quick. Listen, folks, there's 110 people with us. This is LEV PARNAS. LEV is an incredibly important figure now in American history. I want to recommend 3 movies. First, The Apprentice about Donald Trump was amazing. MYLA and I saw it together. It's a monster movie about Donald Trump. Then the movie about Lev and his family, which Rachel Maddow has just released, called From Russia with Lev. I want to recommend Lev's book. Lev, can you hold it up? Lev has a book out now called Shadow Diplomacy. And having watched the Rachel Maddow,
you can go loveremembers.com and get the book there at loveremembers.com.
What is it again?
Loveremembers.com.
LevRemembers.com. And I know that your publicist, ILENE Proctor, is on with us. So if you'll put that in the chat, ILENE, that would be great. And then there's a new movie just come out. What did you call it, Lev, that came out in London?
Oh, it's called Putin's Man in the White House.
Putin's Man in the White House.
Donald Trump, yes.
About Trump. So these are three movies. The Apprentice is astonishing. It's one of the most horrifying movies I've ever seen. Like I said, I saw it with MYLA in Santa Monica. Then the Rachel Maddow movie From Russia with Love, and your book. I'll hold it up again, Lev, so everybody can we make sure everybody sees it. This is Shadow Diplomacy. I will get a copy. I'm not going to get it from Amazon. I'll buy it from a different service.
Oh,
But
go to Love Remember. That's why I also
oh, okay,
because
buy it at
I did
levremembers.com.
LoveRemembers.com because I also don't want support Jeff Bezos, and that's why. So
No,
go
it's
to
ridiculous.
and if you want, go to Remember, and I'll even there's a part where I could sign it for you. So definitely go to my website and you'll see and grab it
Right.
there.
And when you watch the Rachel Maddow movie, you'll fall in love with Lev and his family. It's really it's a very moving piece, I gotta say, and especially at the end when you talk with Hunter Biden, very, very interesting. But this is big league stuff, folks. This is what it's all about. At this point in time, then Putin's Man in the White House. I got to say that back in college, 100 years ago, I watched The Manchurian Candidate, and about the Soviets putting a man in the White House. It was nothing like Donald Trump, but it was really a monster movie. People want to have a reference, watch The Manchurian Candidate way back when. But now Lev Parnas, who, if you've seen the movie or you will see, very close contact with Rudy Giuliani, who's a genuine lunatic. Oh my God. And Donald Trump, who's not so sane himself. And now we have this situation with the Wall Street Journal. Lev, why are they not releasing the birthday card and the letter that they say Donald Trump wrote? Why don't they just make that public?
I mean, part of it, I think they've baited Trump also into certain things because this is a big, like you said, it's a big game they're playing. The fact that Trump went ahead and sued them for $10 billion,
Yeah, right.
it's all just show because at the end of the day, Donald Trump is going to turn and do as they say, taco Trump, where he's going to chicken out and go back on the lawsuit. I think the Wall Street Journal does definitely has enough, especially keep in mind in this atmosphere after Donald Trump just went after CBS, ABC, had them settle and do these crazy things. There was, and knowing the scrutiny that I went through when we did our documentary with Rachel Maddow with MSNBC and their lawyers, whenever I would, do some of my big breaking news with the New York Times or the Post or any of them, the scrutiny that the lawyers they go on and editors because the writers they'll write they want to write they'll take but the scrutiny on something like this I would if I was a betting man and which I'm not clean Gamblers Anonymous for 7 years now I would say that definitely the Wall Street Journal has the goods on Trump and Trump is panicking but the one thing I do want to say
Well,
and
but
this is
why don't they release it? Why
uh,
don't they release it to the public?
because when the time is right, I think they will. I think it's part
Yeah.
of a bigger game. I think it. I listen. What does the Wall Street Journal want to do? See, they're not here to please. They pretend that they're here for the public. All these news medias pretend that they're here for us, but they're here because they want to make money. They want to sell clicks. They want to get. And so what do? They first release this. Now you have all of this going on. Why don't they release it? Why don't they release it? So now imagine that when they do release it, how big of a hit that's going to be, and it's all of producing, making the going and going. It's part of trying to get the ratings, like Donald Trump says. It's all about the ratings, and that's what they're trying to do.
Okay. And imagine how much one of the networks would pay for an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. I assume you met her over the years as well.
Well, I've never met her, but she's given interviews. The whole thing about it is the way the DOJ plays it, they make you they discredit you. When you become and you don't have the credibility in certain things that you could do, and other things you can't prove because they're under seal, because the courts might have sealed them, or because you can't do it because they threaten you to supersede you and charge you with other things. There's only so much you could say and do. But the one thing I'll tell you about Maxwell is it looks like she does want to talk. She looks like she does want to, she's being there, shutting her down. I mean, the Republican Congress voted not to even hear
I know.
about, having her tested. Just think about the craziness. And, people say, then you have some pundits out there talking about, well, she had her chance. She could have spoke if she wanted to, she could have done a planned deal. What most people don't understand. Most people have never been, thank God, indicted by the Southern District of New York. When you're indicted by the Southern District of New York, it's the most powerful. It's like taking like a 10,000 pound elephant and just putting it right on top of you, and you can't move. That's the weight of what it is. And when they don't want to listen to you, or they want to listen to you. If they want to listen to you, they let murderers go free. Look at what they did to Sammy the Bull Gravano. Take a perfect example. The guy killed over 19 people that we know of, but because they wanted John Gotti so badly, they gave him basically a get out of jail free card, 5 years, and see you later. But when they don't want to listen to you because they don't want to hear the truth coming out, like me, for example, they don't let you talk about Donald Trump. They threaten you with superseding you with other crimes to be able for you to keep your mouth shut. They go to the court to seal your indictment and not allow you to give your documentation to Congress when Congress is trying to impeach the sitting president and you have information about it. So this is the difference. I don't think they gave her a deal or an option. I don't think they wanted to listen to because and then some people will say, well, what about then? It was under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland when Maxwell was arrested. Why then they wasn't under Trump? Because how did you start your conversation? And that's why I want to add to it is because there's nasty and dangerous people that are both Democrats and Republicans that are on that list.
Yeah.
So neither the Biden administration, neither the Trump administration, they're all hiding, protecting because there's a lot of powerful people. Like I said to you, these criminals, there's no blue or elephant or red or
Yeah,
it's
right.
not about it's just who they are. They have their own little
Amazing.
their own little sick club. So they've been protected by lots of different. Doesn't matter which party,
Amazing.
and that's why Trump. And I apologize, Harvey, to
No,
interrupt,
no,
but that's
please.
why. But that's why what Trump ran on. That's what his whole thing for his mega base for his cult. That I was one of those leaders of that cult that we installed in our brain that Epstein was the conduit to the deep state, to the Clintons, to the Obamas, to all of these child pedophilia. This is where QAnon came from, with all of the Clintons drinking blood of kids' babies. The Pizzagate, where that young pizza delivery got killed in Washington D.C. because they said this is where they had the meetings. This is where it all came from. This is what Trump ran on, and for him now to cover it up, to do what he's doing, he destroyed a big part of that mega cult.
Well, let's hope let's from your lips to God's ears, as my mother used to say. And
Amen.
Lev Parnas, your mother said the same thing, right? Lev Parnas, it's an honor to have you with us. I hope you'll stay. We got tons of questions. We have 109 people with us, for God's sakes, and you're on being live streamed as well. Let's take a question from MYLA RESON. MYLA and I went to see that movie, The Apprentice. I got to say, I've never been more terrified or nauseated by a film more than The Apprentice about Trump and Roy Cohn. Go ahead, MYLA RESON, please, and stay with us. Everybody else, raise your hands if you want to speak with LEV PARNAS. It's great to have you, Lev. Really terrific.
Thank you for having me, Harvey.
It is great to have you, and Lev. All of my grandparents escaped, and my father too, from the pogroms in Russia, in Ukraine. They were actually from Ukraine, more around Dnipropetrovsk, not Odessa. But and I'm curious about but that's another conversation. I wanted to bring add another character to this rogues gallery, and that is William Barr's father, Donald Barr, who was the headmaster at the Dalton School when Jeffrey Epstein, who did not have the credentials to be teaching math and other subjects to elite children at this very exclusive school. But it turns out that Donald Barr, the father of William Barr, wrote an extraordinary novel called Space Relations that featured a futuristic intergalactic society that was run by oligarchs, and that featured it had the theme was that a child sex slavery was one of the themes of the book, and that the oligarchs had access to these.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it's a pretty strange.
Pretty strange, yes. And
Yeah.
Lev, I got to say also, in terms of other links, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio, so I was very well aware of Les Wexner, and I taught college in Columbus, and you see behind me a round table. That's at the college I taught at, Capital University, and Les Wexner essentially was the go-to who gave Jeffrey Epstein his financial lead. And I worked for many years with Bob Fitrakis, who broke the first stories about the relationship between Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein. And now we see, can you tell us a bit about how Epstein fits into all of this? And where, in your experience, he was a player and why he's so significant?
Well, I mean, I wasn't a major Epstein, historian. Plus, I thank God my paths never crossed with Epstein, but I definitely know a lot of people that knew Epstein and have crossed paths with him, and I've heard lots of different stories, and I've heard a lot of things corroborated. Some of the interesting parts that I think needs to be more looked into is why Epstein was a major player. Is because, first of all, he was a finance guy. He handled a lot of money for a lot of different people. The other thing is that just a few days ago, I had the special on my Substack where I played a 30-minute interview by a young lady by the name of Katie Johnson. Katie Johnson was a 13-year-old girl that filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump and Epstein for rape.
She was 13?
She was 13 years old, and
Oh
then
my
she was
God.
threatened, as she withdrew it. And so I played the 30-minute, and in that 30-minute interview, she talks about a few things that are very important that we need to.
We lost you, Lev. Not a good time to lose you. I will show Steve. Do we have something we can correct here with
He's
Lev?
he's not in the Zoom right now, Harvey.
Oh my
he
God.
dropped.
Okay.
Hopefully he'll come back.
Let's hope he comes back. This is incredibly important and fascinating to me. We still have 107 people with us. I'm going to call ILENE Proctor now and see what's going on here. But Lev is a beautiful guest and really important. Steve just flashed on the tube an article that Bob Fitrakis wrote about Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. So the Columbus connection here to Epstein is very clear and very important. And this, what we're listening to here, is astonishingly important stuff.
Oh, he's back now.
Okay,
Hang on.
great. Lev?
So he's muted and he needs to be made a co-host again. Steve.
Okay.
There.
All right, he's co-host. Go ahead, Lev. You can turn
Lev,
on
you're
the
back?
camera.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Uh, my battery's also dying. That's why the phone got. So we'll deal with it. But I think I got another 10 minutes, right? We got another 10, 11 minutes or
Wait,
something
I
like
can
that.
take, oh, you can stay with us as long as you want, as far as I'm concerned. So go
Well,
ahead.
what I'd rather do is maybe do another because we have so much to cover. So
Yeah, yeah,
instead of
yeah.
rushing,
Well, we'll
instead
have
of
you
rushing
back then.
into,
Why don't you come back in 2 weeks? We'll give it a rest, and you come back and we'll do another an hour with you in 2 weeks. Meantime,
absolutely.
your book is called, what's your book again?
It's called Shadow Diplomacy. I
And you
recommend you
have
guys.
a Substack. What is your
Yes.
Substack?
The Substack is Lev Remembers or Lev Parnas at Substack.com. I definitely recommend everybody goes to either loveremembers.com, which is my website, which is growing, and definitely get the book on there. So this way you don't have to support Jeff Bezos or Amazon. Or definitely you definitely want to follow me on Substack at levparnas.substack, where I do most all my writing and all my videos and break all my stories and talk about all my inner workings of Donald Trump.
All right, so let's make a firm date for 2 weeks from today.
Let's
You'll
do
come
it.
back. We'll do another hour with you, and God knows. By the way, I'm starting a lottery for people who want to guess when Donald Trump leaves the White House, and I believe it's going to be within 6 months. I was on a hammock in Mexico, and I got in 1974, and I got a Time magazine cover story on Watergate. I literally got out of the hammock and came back to the U.S. because I wanted to be here for Watergate. This really feels very similar. I do not think, although I did watch yesterday, there were two women on some kind of thing, and they basically think that Donald Trump is God. I mean, there are people out there who seem to.
And that's why that's the cult part of Donald Trump. And when I'm back next time, we'll talk about that a little bit more about being in the cult and everything else like that. But definitely, I look forward to it. And thank you so much for having me, Harvey. And whenever if there's any breaking story and you want to have me back on, you want to discuss it, I look forward to it. You have my phone number. Let's make it happen.
Right. Well, I may be able to get you on the radio on Wednesday, so I'll talk to ILENE Proctor about that.
Right.
Let's squeeze in a quick a question if we can.
Yeah,
Lauren
absolutely.
Taylor, go ahead. Lauren Taylor, and then Heidi, and then Ruth, and then Tatanka. We'll keep as long as you
Hello,
can stay.
hello, hello, hello.
Lauren,
Lev.
go ahead, real quick. Yes.
Yes, Lev, you were on, or you got interviewed by Rachel Maddow. And what I found, one interview you did, I found it really interesting that you said that what really gave Donald Trump his power was when he made Bill Barr the Attorney General. Can you very, very quickly just kind of reiterate that and explain what you meant with that?
Sure, absolutely. Great question because prior to Bill Barr, what started all of Donald Trump's problems was when Rudy Giuliani declined Trump wanted Rudy Giuliani to be Attorney General, but Rudy wanted to be Secretary of State, and because of that, eventually he put Jeff Sessions in. And when Jeff Sessions came in, one of the first things Jeff Sessions did is he recused himself from the Russiagate. And because of that, that whole Russiagate, Russia, that till this day in Donald Trump is the number one kryptonite, has transpired. And until he got Whitaker, until he got Bill Barr in there and was able to.
Okay, he lost his battery, folks. I think that's what's happened here. Good question, Lauren. Listen, we'll be back with him in 2 weeks. Okay, I wanted to give him a week off, a week for things to develop. I was just about to ask him if all the assertions in Russiagate were true, And I think he's going to say they were. We still have 102 people with us. We're going to go on to some other things, but this has really been phenomenal. Heidi, did you want to chime in? And then Ruth, go
Yeah,
ahead,
I'm
Heidi.
just wondering, with the fact that we've heard from Jamie Raskin recently, I'm wondering if he's been able to connect with him to be able to share what his knowledge is.
Okay,
And
and Lev is back. Lev, have you had any connection with Jamie Raskin? Lev, are you there?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me just mute. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
question was, have you connected with Jamie Raskin?
Oh yes, Jamie Raskin is incredible. I think he's a hero. He's great. I'm actually going to probably be meeting up with Jamie Raskin come this. I'm going to be in Washington D.C. From the July 29th to the 31st. I'm actually being honored. I'm receiving the Pillar Whistleblowers Pillar Award. And I'm going to meet up with Congressman Raskin and discuss some of the messaging that needs to take place right now to start bringing some of MAGA over to the right side.
Good. Well, we've had Jamie on. I want to ask you very quickly all the things that were said in Russiagate, right? All the assertions that were made about Russia being involved with getting Trump in the White House in 2016. Are they true?
Not all. There was, there was a lot of, and that's why I think the biggest problem they gave Trump that big edge, gave us that type, and Mega at that time that big edge of believing in the deep state. That there was a lot of things that were thrown in there. There was speculation and that was not vetted properly. But a lot of the Democrat leadership jumped on because it was, it was so dirty, nasty, and like the P tape, for instance. I mean, that sound. But a lot of it was true. There was
Right.
a
Now, I've
lot.
heard, by the way, the P tape could not be true because Donald Trump is a germaphobe.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have
Well,
done that. So,
not only that, but my ex-partner Igor, who was arrested with me, was actually in the Ritz-Carlton in the room, and Donald Trump was not in the room. He was actually in the room with the women after the pageant. So I'm very deep inside that world and know exactly what happened. So I could tell you there was no P tape, but I could tell you also definitely that the Russians were definitely involved in manipulating and helping win, and they were definitely in coordination with people like Paul Manafort, who was his manager at the time. They were also involved with a lot of the people, donors, and people that were close inside of that Trump. Because you have to understand, Donald Trump was not a politician. He didn't have a group of people around him. There were politicians by life and had experience of doing it. He had a makeshift group of people. It was like the bad news bears of criminals, gangsters, wannabe politicians, people that will, businessmen that will cross the line, do whatever it takes, and all of a sudden we won. And now it's like a free for all. How do you basically, go ahead and monetize it? So that's what it was. It was a free for all. But now it's a lot worse because now he's learned. Now he's embedded all of his loyalists all over the place, and now he controls the all three branches, which is extremely dangerous. And I'll leave you off on this: that the
I
one
have
thing
to
that
call
I'm
you
hearing,
back in just a few minutes. Sorry.
okay,
call
go
me
ahead.
back.
No. Go ahead. Sorry,
Oh,
that was someone else.
it's something that's called election reform that is being implemented right now by Stephen Miller, Russell Vought. It's a part of Project 2025. It's excuse me, a section in there where basically Donald Trump wants to try to remain in power forever. Part of it is being used by they pushing the big ugly bill by using part of that ICE money that now made ICE the number one most powerful federal agency, more powerful than the FBI, DOJ, more funded at least. And now he's going to use ICE as his personal, like, Gestapo. Somebody said 100%, just like Putin has the FSB, which was the KGB. Now Trump has his branch, which is ICE, that is loyal to him. That's run by Tom Homan, not somebody that's confirmed by the Senate, like the FBI director, DOJ director that has to answer to, the House, the Senate. Now you have Tom Homan that answers only to Donald Trump, running the most powerful. And the way he says it, the way he looks at it, is he doesn't need probable cause. to arrest you or to bring you in. If you don't fit the mold or you don't look the part or you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, you're part of collateral damage. He doesn't care. They're literally taking American citizens off the streets. I mean, it's bad enough when you're taking out illegal citizens, immigrants, people that nothing criminal by taking away their due process, their laws, and bringing them and throwing them into places, makeshift concentration camps like Alligator, Alcatraz in our backyard here in Florida. I mean, with inhumane conditions. But now you have actual American citizens being grabbed because they're a different color or different in a different place, and you can't do nothing about it. And you got people like ICE screaming in your face saying, "Go Google me," with no badges, no nothing, masks on their face. And this is who they're planning on using to intimidate voters, putting them ICE agents around voting polls, taking away with early voting rights. That's why right now with Pam Bondi, they have this whole thing, get rid of Pam Bondi. He's not going to get rid of Pam. I know Pam very well. And Pam is right now working on changing DOJ rules and regulations, how to go after what is considered criminal or not in election reform. And then you go
Hello?
into,
Go ahead, keep going.
yeah. And
Yeah,
then
let's keep going.
and then you have them, what they're trying to do with the maps, by getting more seats in Texas and Florida. And so it's all about, because he understands that, he's not popular. He understands that his polls are down. He understands he has a mega rift. So the only way he could stay in power is by trying to right now rig the elections. Remember, Donald Trump, everything he says somebody else does, he's actually the one doing it. So all you hear him screaming is they stole the election, they rigged the election, because right now he's trying to rig the election and steal the election because he to be able to stay in power for forever. So on that note, I'm gonna tell you guys to make sure, keep your eye on the ball, stay awake, and don't let them distract you with all the the hoopla, the craziness.
Lev, you've been great. We're 100% behind you.
Thank you.
Keep up. I will be back in touch. I may be able to have you on another show on Wednesday.
Thank you, Harvey.
But have you back here. Put it in your file. You will use the same link in 2 weeks from today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank
God
you, and
bless.
thank you,
God bless
ILENE
you guys. God
Proctor.
bless America.
Lev, we're with you. Everybody watch these movies. I'm going to buy his book, and Lev, keep up. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
And
Thank
give
you.
our best to your
Commitment to the
family.
truth, Lev.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Talk
guys.
to you in 2 weeks.
Bye bye.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, take care. Thank you. Okay, Ruth Strauss, please. We'll have you back, Ruth. You'll be first up in 2 weeks, and then Tatanka. But go ahead and say what you want to say, please. We'll continue. We have 105 people with us. We'll talk about this and go on, and then we'll get to some other stuff. But let's keep on this theme. Ruth Strauss, go ahead.
Oh, well, just following up on what MYLA said, my grandparents came to this country at a very early age from Rovno, which was, I think, a place where they kind of stored Jewish people in the Ukraine. But anyway, I highly recommend From Russia with Love, Lev. I thought it was done very well. The thing I wanted to say, Harvey, is even though, of course, I think you're wonderful and I respect your opinions, I thought, except for that rape scene, and that might be what you're referring to as being horrific, but otherwise, I thought that they gave Donald a pass in The Apprentice, meaning that they really skimped over the whole redlining thing, the way he stiffed his workers, how many bankruptcies he had. His father had been, in a KKK parade. They didn't go into, much about the psychology of Trump based on, the coldness of his parents, and maybe even abuse. I don't know. They didn't go into the money laundering. So I was just going to say that, on balance, I think they kind of soft pedaled on him.
I think you're right. But what really killed me about The Apprentice was the portrayal of Roy Cohn. I mean, I was
yeah,
just
he was fantastic.
That was one of the greatest performances.
It was.
Jeremy Steele, I was very sorry he did not win the Academy Award.
I agree with you
But
totally.
I thought the portrayal of Roy Cohn in The Apprentice, as you say, was just on another level, and that's what really got me about that movie. So, but again, we've been very honored. Thank you, ILENE Proctor, to have Lev with us. We'll have him back in 2 weeks, and to meet a guy who knew Fred Trump, oh my God. I mean, this is going straight to Satan here. But I gotta say, I saw this thing last night. It was two women, and they were talking about how Trump is playing 10-dimensional chess. I mean, they were talking about him like a supernatural being, which I agree with. But I think he's Satan myself. They just thought he was the greatest thing since literally Jesus Christ. So there you go. Tatanka, ILENE Proctor, did you want to say something? ILENE? Go ahead if you do, jump in. But Tatanka, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, I'm going to hold all my questions for 2 weeks. But I think when both he and your guest last week, Bob Petrakis, really were talking about Trump as the master of distraction and keep your eye on the ball. So I really I'm asking people who know the things that these people know, what to watch out for in their mind, the path forward, because I also want to ask organized crime relationship with all kinds of things, with nuclear weapons, nuclear bombs, etc. But hi, ILENE.
ILENE, do you want to jump in and say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, there are two things. One, everybody should go and listen and participate with Zev on Substack. He's #1 on Substack right now, and his son is #2. The last one he did put goose pimples on my goose pimples. It was about how incredibly kinky and weird sexually Trump is. And it went into some very gory details that you have to have the stomach to listen, because it was from a 13-year-old girl who spoke in depth, and it was the last one he did. I sent you the link. You could send it out to everybody. The other thing that you didn't go into, which is really important, it's the 50-day leeway that Trump is giving to Putin, literally, to bomb the bejesus out of Ukraine. He's just giving him that gift. Those Patriot missiles have to go through a long route. They're the new Patriot missiles that are being built by Raytheon that are not yet ready. So this is a total farce that he's giving himself diplomatic, as it were, immunity or a shield, which is not justified because he and Putin are still in it together. And that is something that you didn't talk about. And there's so much to talk about.
Well, we'll do that in 2 weeks.
That Lev is an encyclopedia of information that he gets from the Ukraine, from sources in the White House.
Well, he knows Zelensky, right?
Of course.
Right. So, yes, in the movie, in Rachel Maddow's movie, you see Lev interacting with Zelensky. So it was an incredible session with him. We're deeply grateful. We'll have him back in 2 weeks. I want to try and have his son on next week. Next week, to talk, I'll get back to you. Next week, we really have to focus on that.
On making that happen. And maybe he can get Svetlana on there too.
Right. Well, Aaron,
His wife,
his son, is focusing on the 2016 election. And we Lev briefly mentioned how Trump is working already to pervert the 2016 election. And that the
Exactly.
2016 election will be certainly the most important off-year election in American history, at least since 1974, when Nixon was in the middle of Watergate. So we need to focus next week on what's happening. I'll try and get Greg Palast and whoever else, but 2016 is, in no way, shape, or form is the opposition to Trump guaranteed to win the 2016 election. We're seeing Texas.
You must mean
Florida.
2026, right, Harvey?
I'm sorry, 2026. In no way, shape, or form is the opposition to Trump guaranteed to win in
We
2026.
don't have a viable candidate right now.
Well, 2026 is the off year. I will
know.
say that AOC
A leader.
AOC has intimated strongly that she might run for president in 2028. That's an interesting discussion. Jamie Raskin on this Zoom a couple weeks ago intimated he might be running in 2028. So that's all up for grabs. But next week, we really need to focus on the 2026
Right.
election. Go ahead.
Lev is meeting with Raskin.
If you can have Aaron come on with us, that would be great, Eileen.
Yeah, Lev is meeting with Raskin, and this honor that he's getting, I worked very hard to get him this honor, and he is thrilled. He's been out of the spotlight for a long time. There's
Well,
a
I'm
long
definitely
story
gonna.
with that.
I'm gonna
And
definitely get.
now he's back, and God bless him, because it's very dangerous for him.
It's amazing that he's still alive. It's amazing to me that Ghislaine Maxwell is still
Right.
alive. I'm surprised. And my advice to her, such as it is that she should give a comprehensive interview as fast as possible. Because
She might do it for a pardon. Don't forget.
she's not going to get a pardon.
20 years.
The last thing that Trump is ever going to do is pardon her. She needs to speak.
If she
needs
speaks
to-
and says nothing that incriminates him, that would be it.
She's not going to get a pardon from him. If he pardons her, he'll kill her. She won't last a
We'll
week.
see.
If she
She
doesn't,
might-
if she doesn't
Look
come
who
out,
her father was. You know who her father was.
yes. Everybody, we all know. Well, I don't know. Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Jeffrey Epstein's procurer and girlfriend, is in federal prison, and but she knows more than anybody.
And her
My
father,
feeling is, if she doesn't say everything she knows, they're going to kill her.
No.
And
He also- yeah.
so her father, Robert Maxwell,
Yes.
well known to be part of Mossad. You were talking about that, Eileen, or you pointed that out just now, right?
No,
you-
Lynn Feinerman pointed it out.
Oh, I thought that Eileen just mentioned her Ghislaine's
I did
father.
mention, yes, I mentioned it, but I didn't talk about him in detail or
Right.
any of the scandals involved.
Eileen, I wanted to thank you for bringing up other things I wanted to bring up as well. We'll bring up next week, which is follow the trail. Oh God, it's Dolores. Follow the trail, CIA, Mossad, etc. I've got to
Go ahead, take that and come back. Does anyone else have anything? Heidi Verteiler, go ahead, and then anybody else want to talk on this? Please do. We have a couple other things to talk about, but boy, that was really
Another
very
thing.
exhausting. Eileen, go ahead.
One other thing, we're talking about bringing Lev to Los Angeles to do a private party, plus maybe at Saban. We're talking to Saban Theater regarding him and Michael Cohen, maybe some other people. Lev knows a few celebrities. I know a few celebrities. We want to make it one of my greatest mind series ever.
Okay, we should also bring him to New York. I'll be in the East in August and September, so let's bring him up there as well.
Yeah, and to Asheville,
Right. So he is living where?
Florida, Boca Raton.
Okay. Well, listen, Ghislaine Maxwell, if you're listening, if I were you, man, I would just get in front of a camera and say everything, because until you do, there are plenty of people ready to kill you, as
You
you
know,
don't know. And I've seen it. Lev is the second person I've seen interviewed about that prison. I did see a mobster interviewed somewhere on the net, and who was in the same cell that Jeffrey Epstein was in, and they said the same thing, which is just absolutely impossible to hang yourself in that cell. There's no rafter.
that's
There's
right.
no way to do it. I do not in any way, shape, or form believe for
The
one
sheets weren't strong
nanosecond.
enough.
Right. There weren't enough of them. And I don't believe in any way, shape, or form for even a nanosecond that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I do not believe it. Go
Harvey,
ahead.
I've been hearing that Ghislaine Maxwell or Ghislaine is interested in testifying before Congress now.
Yeah, and they don't want her to testify.
Right. So
Can
we'll
you
see.
imagine? I mean, really, God, it's amazing. We still have 91 people with us, the world's longest attention span here. Go ahead, Heidi, and then Alex. And
I
then,
have a fantasy, I think, in that we might that maybe we could bring Ghislaine into a Zoom with us and have her tell us what happened and make sure that she gets make sure that we can ask all the questions that we want to ask.
well, as I told Lev, by the way, I have a granddaughter named Lev. My youngest granddaughter is named Lev, but it means heart. I believe in either Yiddish or Hebrew. Eileen, go ahead. You're muted, Eileen, for some reason.
That's why I'm saying if she's in prison, I know that, but it's like other people have interviewed, other journalists have been able to get interviews with people that have been in prison before. So why shouldn't this be also
Well,
possible?
as I was about to say, from your lips to God's ears.
It's a fantasy.
Yeah, there you go. Eileen, did you want to say something?
Yeah, Lev does not know Ghislaine. That was way
Well,
before he got
I'll check on it,
involved.
but that date looks good. And boy, that'd be a lot of fun. That would be-
Tatanka, you need to mute. Alex Williams, go ahead, Alex.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, good.
I was listening to I caught like the tail end of that. I saw the From Russia with Lev thing,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's typical New York mobster stuff. And it's only a matter of I think they're setting up JD Vance to kind of take over.
Well, I do want to announce we are starting a lottery to guess when Trump is going to leave the White House, and I believe it's going to be in less than 6 months. I mean, as I said,
I'm kind of with you.
I was on a hammock in Mexico. I picked up Ghislaine Maxwell. I just met a fabulous woman, and I picked up Time magazine. I have no idea how I got Time magazine and Ghislaine Maxwell, and the whole issue was about Watergate. And I literally got out of the hammock and came back because I did not want to miss it. And I spent many hours in our organic garden listening to the Watergate hearings. It was so much fun. And this really feels like Watergate to me. But, maybe I'm overly optimistic. I don't know. I did hear these two women last night just talking about Trump as if he's God and that he's all doing this on purpose and it's whatever. And, he's playing 10-dimensional chess. Oh my God, but there you have it. So, and then the New York Times ran a piece today saying that the Wall Street Journal's refusal to release Trump's letter has unified MAGA. And they're now all back supporting Trump. So, God knows. Mike Hurst, go ahead, please, Mike.
Yeah, just wanted to reminisce a little bit about Watergate and how, it was I don't think it was scintillating until somebody said, well, I think it's all on the tapes. And people said, tapes? What are you talking about, tapes? And it came out that Nixon was taping everybody. And I also wanted to announce that my friend Chuck Pinocchio is
Oh,
joining us.
yes. Yeah,
for,
please.
And so, Stephen, if you could make him a co-host, we'll get Chuck. Chuck's been working on Capitol Hill. He can let us know what the mood is up there. And he has a lot to share with us in terms of healthcare and stopping fascism. So I've known Chuck Pinocchio for quite a while. I think I met Chuck when he was running for U.S. Senate from Pennsylvania. And it's a real shame he didn't win. We would have been a lot better off. But Chuck's been working hard, doing the work of three men when it comes to organizing for healthcare for everybody as a human right, and then also to keep us free from fascism. So former professor, great organizer, wonderful human being, Chuck Pinocchio. Please take it away.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you for joining us. And Mike, thank you for bringing Chuck with us. And go ahead, Chuck, please.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it very much. Mike and this program that you all put together. Really appreciate it, Harvey. Yeah, the mood on Capitol Hill is pretty dark. There's just not a lot of a jump in the steps of the staff people and the Democrats, certainly. The mood really was set back, of course, with the passage of the big, we call it the big bullshit bill. And that was devastating, as you all know, and can roll out in a devastating way, especially with regard to healthcare, Medicare and Medicaid, as well as SNAP, as well as other social programs. And of course, it's going to be the most radical economic shift upwards toward inequality, economic inequality in our history, as well as a massive increase, some $4 trillion in added debt to our future. So following that, we did a rollout. We didn't plan it this way, but the rollout of the SABUCA bill, and that's the state-based Universal Health Care Act. And I'll drop a couple links into the chat. One is for the Senate bill that Ed Markey's running, Ed Markey from Massachusetts. We have Ed on the bill, and we have 3 senators so far, Alex Padilla, California, Jeff Merkley, Oregon, and Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. And then in the House bill that I'll drop into the link into the chat as well, that's Ro Khanna's bill. We have 22 original co-sponsors and then 3 additional co-sponsors who signed on after the bill itself was introduced. Both of them were introduced last Wednesday, the day after the bill was introduced by way of press conference. It was a unprecedented press conference for us, the first time in 10 years that we actually did something like that. And Ed Markey did a remarkable job, 2-minute opening, just laying out the argument. And the basic argument that we've been operating under, I'm with One Pair States. I'll put my link and information in the chat as well. Our theory of change is that we're going to get to national Medicare for all through the states. And this, as many of you know, is how Canada was able to get to their national Medicare system through one province, that being Saskatchewan back in the 1960s. And this is the way that many, many countries are able to adopt reform, including the United States, child labor laws, suffrage, you name it. So many different changes have occurred by modeling them at the state level. So my ask for people today is, if you don't see your representative in the House or your senators that I mentioned at the top, please reach out to them by phone, by email, or even office visit. If you can access their office, we're trying to get as many additional co-sponsors signed on with the bill before Congress goes into recess. The House goes into recess at the end of this week. The Senate goes into recess after next week. So my focus this week is to pick up as many more House members as possible, and then double down on recruiting as many senators as possible toward the end of this week and then on to next week. So I'll stop there, drop some links into the chat. If folks have any questions, it's pretty straightforward. Yep.
Chuck, I have a question, but I want to go first to Paul Newman. Paul Newman is a great, great healthcare activist in Santa Monica, and also has solar panels on his roof. The question,
Beautiful.
of course, is how do we reverse all this? Paul, go ahead, Paul Newman.
Okay, we had a bill in Los Angeles. I'm not in Los Angeles, in California, called CalCare. We pushed this bill 3 times and with a Democratic majority. And Newsom went. We had this one woman named Buffy Wicks, who was a state representative representing Oakland, and she was with the Appropriations Committee. This is the bill was called AB 2200. And so it passed the first hurdle in the assembly, and then it went to the appropriations. And the bill was a structure bill. It wasn't a financial bill. There are things pending on it, and that the things that were pending on the bill were if there's a federal section 1330, I think it's called, which took all the Medicare and Medicaid and Medi-Cal and not Medi-Cal, but Medicaid and all the health, the health, the Obamacare, things like that. All the money would go to a trust fund in California, and the other part would be a progressive tax. And anyway, the bill went to the appropriations. We had to get this 1330 waiver passed by the federal government. So it really wasn't a financial bill and didn't need to be appropriated. But Newsom went over to Buffy Wicks and said to her, "Don't pass this bill." And so we were unable to get single payer health care as a result. I'm with an organization called Healthcare for number 4us.org, hc4us.org. And we have a lot of information about single payer healthcare and everything. If you're interested, I'll put it in the chat. But the bottom line is, the Democrats in a super majority couldn't pass this bill.
Wow. Well, that's, Paul is, not only is Paul a great activist, but he makes terrific salad dressing. But, what we need to do now, I believe, is to start figuring out how to reverse this bill. Weirdly enough, the first guy to come forward was this horrible senator from Missouri, Josh Hawley, who is proposing to restore at least some of the support for Medicaid. I guess to support rural hospitals, but obviously now there's going to be a lot of backpedaling and backfilling to deal, Chuck, with the horrible impacts of this god-awful bill.
Right.
What do you say about that?
It's really a token amounts of money we're talking. I think they're just clawing back something like $9 billion out of nearly $1 trillion that is being cut for Medicare and Medicaid. So it's really more symbolic than anything else. And these are members who are fearful for their seats if they're up for election in 26, all the House members and a third of the senators. And they know that they've really cut themselves off from their constituents, and they're just trying to narrate this legislation. They're trying to paint it as somehow more positive than it actually was. Vance is out there saying that, oh, this is going to be great for child tax credits, but tiny, tiny, tiny amounts of money, token amounts of money are being thrown back in just to placate the members and give them something to go back to their constituents and say, hey, I got something back for you. And as we all know, Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, she got a few carve outs and she said, this bill is better than it was for Alaska, but it's horrible for the nation. And of course, she turned around and was the deciding vote, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. So this is appalling what they've done. There's no question about it, Harvey. And Paul, yeah, California, where I set my roots, went to high school and college out there. Gavin Newsom ran on single payer. And the moment he was sworn into office, he turned his back on the movement. He manipulated people. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him for sure. Ash Kara is kind of caught in the middle, the legislator who carries the single payer bill. And I know that there was the nurses bill that sought to get the governor negotiating with the Human Health and Human Services Secretary, and that largely split the single payer community in California. Somehow we have to bring folks back together, find common ground, and claw our way back. But I believe that the State-Based Universal Healthcare Act is actually that step. It addresses the theory of change where the most likely pathway to get to national Medicare for all, expanded and improved Medicare for all, is adopting it in one or more states where we can demonstrate that single payer works. And if we did it in California, this would be a game changer. California is what, fifth or sixth economy in the world?
Fourth. California,
Fourth?
2 weeks ago, actually passed Japan. So it's China and the US, and 1 and 2, depending on how you count it. There are a number of ways of counting it that China actually has a bigger economy now than the US. And then Germany, and then California has supplanted Japan. So we're number 4.
Wow. Yeah, California would be an absolute game changer. But unfortunately, the politics there, especially the single payer politics, are just not united. And we've got to figure this out.
Well, we also have to do Diablo Canyon. I mean, Gavin Newsom in 2018 signed the bill to phase out Diablo Canyon and then stabbed us in the back in 22. MYLA and I were at an event 2 days ago with Mayor Bass in LA, and she knew nothing about Diablo Canyon. She, we just told her about this and that, and she was eyes wide open. So we have a governor's race next year, and we got to get somebody to be governor who's actually going to be, we don't have to vote Newsom out. He's leaving. He's going to run for president, and we can stop that. So we need, I think, Paul Newman, if you'll run for governor, you've certainly got the name. You've got the name recognition.
Yeah. Like Arnold.
Yeah.
We got to get you married to Joanne Woodward.
Yeah, right.
Harvey, I want to take a moment to pause for the cause and tell everybody that we really need your help in having more eyeballs on our YouTube channel. This show is being live streamed right now on YouTube, and I just put the link in the chat. And if you're already subscribed, it's really helpful just to like this particular stream, and at some point make a comment and having more eyeballs on our YouTube channel. Sorry about that.
I turned it off. That was me.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. So anyway, please like and subscribe, and Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant sits atop a vertical thrust fault that could shift at any moment. We're really lucky that Diablo hasn't blown up yet, but we have to we really want people to understand that we don't need to take this risk. We have all the electricity we need without risking a nuclear disaster, another Fukushima here in California. And people need to understand that this is an urgent matter. This isn't something that can wait. This is something that we have to address, and we want all the candidates who are running not to tell us that they're going to shut Diablo when they're elected. We need them to advocate for the immediate closure of this extraordinarily risky source of electricity that is absolutely unneeded. So that's my pitch. Let's shut Diablo today.
Yes, and let's get a governor, somebody running for governor who's going to do that, for God's sakes. Dr. Nancy, and then Mike Hirsch again, but Dr. Nancy, go ahead, and then we'll go to Mike. Chuck, stick with us if you can.
Yeah, sure.
Mike Hirsch was in front of me.
Oh, okay, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to refocus. And MYLA, thank you for that reminder. I want to be respectful of Chuck's time. Chuck is very busy. What besides calling our members of Congress and both our senators, what would you suggest that we do to help gain support for this? And also, if you could give a plug for one payer states.
Yeah, I dropped my contact information. I'll drop in the link to One Payer States. One Payer States has been around since 2009, and we're the only organization in the country that centers our work on that theory of change. That the way we're going to get to universal healthcare. And I believe so many other steps, environmental steps, dealing with climate, a lot of this stuff is going to have to take place, especially over the next 3.5 years at the state level. We've got to be dramatic in how we do this work. And politically, I came into this work when I was 13 on Prop 15, the Nuclear Safety Initiative, if you all remember that one in California. That's when I was going to high school in San Diego. So yeah, we're all connected. All these issues, election protection, environment, healthcare, climate, you name it, all these issues are interconnected. But the answer to your question is we've just got to, I think office visits are really quite potent, you know, and I think even occupying offices just really impress upon people. Right now, if you're not aware, in Manhattan on Broadway, there is a crowd assembling in protest in support of Stephen Colbert, one of my friends who sent me some pictures. Because as you know, the Paramount is just kicking Stephen Colbert off the air. It's cancel culture. This is also fascism, right? Fascism it tries to peel back society in every way, shape, and form, just to see ourselves as part of a resistance. But it's not just resistance, but it's moving forward with a progressive agenda. And of course, that includes all the issues that we're talking about here. I hope that helps.
Yeah, Chuck, are you in California?
Just my picture. I'm in Washington, D.C.
Oh, all right. Well, that bridge behind you, the Golden Gate, I've actually rode my bike over it. It's the loudest thing I've ever heard. But nonetheless, this state-by-state strategy is excellent. Carl Grossman, you're in Long Island. Maybe we should try a New York and New Jersey-based strategy to get single payer state by state. You know, prohibition was actually never adopted by the state of New York. They never got it through there. And when prohibition was repealed, New York led the way. So that's a good precedent. As with the legalization of pot went state by state,
right?
As well, it's still not legal federally.
Right.
So we're going to have to really come up with some great answers to this terrible bill. The people are not going to stand for it. So we need to go state by state. Very, very smart idea, Chuck. Very good.
Right.
Back to healthcare.
Oh, wait, well, let's check and then go ahead, Nancy.
I'm just going to say, I mean, as a fellow historian, I mean, we know the progressive era started in Milwaukee, then it went to Wisconsin, then it went national under TR. The New Deal was experimented with in Albany, right? All the major ideas of the New Deal, they emanated from New York, and so many of the ideas out of the Great Society, same thing, civil rights legislation. So yeah, this is really the pathways on so many reforms in this country. It's really an important history lesson for all of us, Harvey. Appreciate you.
You're right. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Nancy, please.
Yes, thank you, Chuck, for being here. I'm actually chairman of the Los Angeles chapter of Physicians for a National Health Program.
Beautiful.
And I will tell you that at least the chapters in California of Physicians for a National Health Program have taken the position of not taking sides in terms of state by state. And your argument's completely correct. No, there's no disagreement with what you say. But there are some people in the larger movement who say we need national laws instead. But the California chapters have strongly taken the position of not causing a rift, not causing these two factions to be in competition with each other. The saga that Paul Newman discussed really caused a lot of havoc in the movement for single payer. And I just want to urge everyone to say single payer is our goal. And this plan is a fabulous plan. Hopefully it works, but there are other people working on other plans toward the same goal. And I really think we're all on the same team and we need to work together.
Yeah, 100%. I will give a shout out to Harvey. You mentioned New York. Gustavo Rivera was in town last week. He's the state senator who's running the bill there. And he says the main obstacle right now in New York is a handful of municipal unions. And he says he's making progress. He's making headway. New York, actually, if they elect a single payer governor next year, they could be the first to go. That's a significant state, a big state as well. So keep an eye on what's going on around the country. Track us at one pair of states. But yeah, Nancy, you're 100%. We've got to just keep our powder dry. If we disagree with people, just do so respectfully. Don't attack each other. We're constantly attacked by groups called, well, I won't even name names because it's not even constructive. But yeah, the Senate Bill 770 was divisive. And I hope folks have licked their wounds and are coming back together.
Well, New Jersey and Massachusetts and Vermont,
Right.
all, are liberal enough, I would guess, to move ahead with this. We always have problems with the Democrats. I mean, the Democrats are always the ones who stab us in the back. And, here in California, a lot of us are terrified that Kamala Harris might run for governor.
Right. Right.
Then we're just going to wind up with nothing. Whereas maybe Katie Porter, and I would actually like to look into. I looked up the requirements for running for governor in California, and they're not very stringent. I think you only need 100 signatures, and I would like to see and put out the word somebody run for governor who only on Diablo Canyon. Single issue. Don't talk about healthcare, don't talk about Israel, don't talk about anything else except shutting Diablo Canyon. Because that person won't win the governorship, but when the debates come around, they can talk specifically about solarizing California and shutting those 2 reactors. And there was actually a brilliant letter that was put out by the Mothers for Peace. And I've been trying to get Linda Seeley, but next week, they basically saying that the bill that allows Diablo Canyon to continue to operate does 846, a Shonda, if there ever was one, says that you have to be able to guarantee the safety of the nuclear plant. And Trump has, bad as the Nuclear Regulatory Commission was, he's actually made it worse. He's actually literally called for everything to be rubber stamped. They use that term, rubber stamped, and he's fired a commissioner, a full commissioner of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. That has never happened before. I mean, it's astounding that Trump did that. So, and Paul Newman, I think you would be perfect to run for governor. You can run with someone named Joanne Woodward, and I mean, you're a good-looking guy, I mean, you get a great following. We'll just call you HUD. But
Hey,
anyway,
Sluggo, what if you ran with somebody named Robert Redford?
yeah, that's a great idea, or Barbara Streisand, she actually lives in Malibu, so maybe she'd run with you. But of this strategy of going state by state, I think that's a brilliant idea, Chuck, and we really need to pursue that. We now have to put our minds to dismantling this bill that Trump got through. I mean, he got through by one vote, and 4 votes in the House and 1 vote in the Senate. Lisa Murkowski gets up and whines and moans and then votes with him. I mean, come on, So, and the 26th election, as I say, next week we're going to vote to the 26th election. That's really critical. Mimi Gurman is on with us. Mimi, if you want to speak, raise your hand. Heidi Verthalis, did you want to add something? Is your name still up? Your hand still up? We still have 83 people with us. Yes, go ahead.
It is. It is. I just was going to.
Heidi, you're breaking up.
California.
No, it's
Heidi.
Heidi. Heidi, you're breaking up. Breaking up is hard.
I was suggesting that you run for governor.
Okay.
All right, I'll type it.
I think there's an age limit. I'm over 100 years old. I don't think you're allowed to do it when you're that old. But I want somebody young who can actually run, as opposed to me. I can barely walk.
Sluggo, I think Chuck wanted to get in there for a second. So
Chuck, go ahead, please, Chuck.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. Keep it going. I'm just happy to listen to people's commentary here. I think there is a great opportunity in California. And I like your idea, Harvey, of having issue-centered candidates like that to educate around various issues, especially concerning Diablo. I think that's really important.
Well, I think I looked at it. I think you only need $100 and 100 signatures and not that much money. And I wanted to nominate, 'cause she's not on the call. I wanted to nominate Kaylee Underhill, who I believe is under 30, and who really, really knows these issues. But we should look at that state by state. This idea of running a candidate with a left agenda or a humanist agenda, and then we always get bogged down on various issues that people get really angry about, specifically, of course, Israel, but other ones come up. But whereas if we ran single issue candidates who understanding we're not going to win the governorship, but we get participation in the debates. And of course, number one in our mind here in LA is Diablo Canyon. But we could also, Nancy, you could run on single payer, and you just come to the debates and say, well, I'm here to talk about single payer, and that's it. And maybe that's a strategy that will work. But I will say, yeah.
I don't know how to raise my hand on my phone because I'm using my
go
phone
ahead,
Zoom.
Mimi.
Sorry. Yeah.
Mimi
So,
Berman.
so you could do a thing if somebody were running on a single issue for Diablo, be like, healthcare doesn't matter if Diablo Canyon blows.
Well, we certainly have no insurance, but that's for sure. But I have to say, we were with Mayor Bass, and I like Mayor Bass. She's very nice. She gave a very good presentation. But I could see Mimi, MYLA was there. When I started talking about Diablo Canyon, it was as if she'd never heard of Diablo Canyon. She knew nothing. And this is the mayor of the biggest city in California.
It's crazy.
But I don't think it's uncommon. I think you have people all over the country that don't know anything about their local nuclear plant.
Well,
And
Sluggo, I think that means that we're talking too much to each other and not reaching out. So that's on us. I think we need to, instead of kind of chanting the verses to each other like we do, I think it's time for us to look outward and proselytize this for a no nukes future. It's shocking to me that the mayor of Los Angeles would not know that there's a precarious, dangerous nuclear plant just upwind from where she is. But that's on us. That's our movement needs to do much better at reaching
I
out.
agree with you. I agree with you to a certain extent, Mike, but having been with this issue for 50 years, we also get, especially with nuclear, but there are a few other issues, where when you mention them, you get eye rolls. And people assume when you mention nuclear power, a lot of people just assume that they're not smart enough or don't know enough to deal with the issue. We have run against that. But you're right, we do need to reach out more. And
Well, just
I have-
ask them if they knew that they were insuring nuclear power plants if they melt down.
Yeah,
that
right.
we the people are on the hook for that. And then also mention the provision in their homeowners policy that says if a nuclear plant blows and their house is worthless, then the insurance company walks away from it.
Right. Well, I will say though, she was very interested, and this is goes everywhere. Very interested in the idea of solarizing Dodger Stadium, and all the sports stadiums, around the country have huge parking lots, and every one of them could have, even in the northern climes, could have solar canopies. And this is a known technology, and this is not like pie in the sky stuff. And it's very economical. I mean, there is a payback. The problem,
Sluggo,
yeah.
if you have the ear of the mayor, it would be a really good time for you and MYLA to put together like something that I did here in Portland, where you have an all-out conference and call it Diablo Canyon. What do you know? And have people come out. People will come out. Call it whatever you want. But then you'll have what Mike is saying. The mayor can be there on the panel, and other, firefighters on the panel, because they're the first responders.
Yeah.
and others who know things, and maybe people from the community on the panel, and invite the community out while you have the mayor's ear. And that's a way to really do some decent outreach.
Yes, and then we do have a mayoral election next year. She is running for re-election. So maybe we should also run a single issue candidate for mayor of LA. I would hate to jeopardize Mayor Bass, but we can. The great thing now, the great breakthrough now with renewables, with nuclear power, is that the numbers work for us on renewables. Yeah, there's no doubt that you could solarize Diablo, I'm sorry, solarize Dodger Stadium, and make money on it. It's not pie in the sky. It's not like hippie stuff. This is profitable if you can get the utility to cooperate.
Right.
That's the problem we have at Dodger Stadium, is that the local utility is Edison, and Edison is in it for the money. The DWP, the Department of Water and Power, which is municipal owned, that would be a different story. But I see you're still on the line here. We can do a great minds thing in LA just on solarizing all the park. We have enough parking lots in LA between the Rose Bowl, the Coliseum, all the other sports stadiums, all the big box stores, all the shopping centers, many of which are going out of business. If we covered every parking lot and every big square roof on the warehouses in LA, we could power the city. We don't have to go into the rural areas and build solar farms. We could do some windmills, but there's not that much wind in Southern California. There is offshore, but this is and the other thing is covering the aqueduct and the reservoirs. If we covered the aqueduct, we would save a tremendous amount of water. And it's counterintuitive, but solar panels actually work better when they're cooled. So if you float solar arrays on the aqueduct, you cut down virtually all of the evaporation, and you don't have to get a right of way. You just run a cable down, and the panels work great. So the bottom line, what's new in this is that all this technology is economically extremely attractive, which wasn't the case 10 years ago, but it is now. And so we can, we should call a big conference, as Mimi suggests, here in LA, and make a big deal of this. Nancy, you have your hand up? Nancy Naparco?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Harvey, I've learned so much from you and MYLA, and we're talking to the choir, and it's got to get out there. And I've got this other idea that Clifford Tasner, who's our chairman of our Southern California Americans for Democratic Action, he's produced these cartoons similar to Schoolhouse Rock, which was after my time, but they're very entertaining. And I am in the process of working with him and our California chairman of PNHP to update them for single payer health care. They're cartoons, they're enjoyable, they're totally convincing. If we could raise money, he could put together similarly entertaining, animated, with music, educational cartoons that would be part of any presentation and be very convincing. And I'm sure when we do finish these updating these ones we have on healthcare, that Chuck would be very interested in it.
Yeah, Chuck, great to know. By the way, Chuck Panaccio used to connect with ILENE Proctor. There's going to be an event in DC with LEV PARNAS, and a couple other really important people. So Chuck and ILENE Proctor, please exchange contacts.
Yeah, I've dropped it a couple times in the box here. Just a further thought, Harvey, about running single issue candidate. What you do is that candidate runs right up to the point where they can drop out just before the election and endorse the best candidate who stands the best chance of winning, right? So that's another way of doing it. So you educate the masses, you bring people in on this issue, And then and just before the deadline for submitting whatever the candidacy, you swing around and you endorse Bass or whoever's running for governor, right? So that it's a calculated thing.
So we call that electionis interruptus. Is
There
that
you
right?
go. Whatever
So,
works.
and Carl Grossman, we have a guy, I guess, in New York, an attorney general, is he attorney general or lieutenant governor, who may run
Right.
against Kathy Hochul, the incumbent Democrat, is now totally pro-nuclear, completely outrageous. And we should look around in all our states to find such candidates. It's 3:53 California time. We're 7 minutes from the top of the hour. I think we'll adjourn at the top of the hour and then go toke up a little early. So anybody has anything else to say, please do. That was an incredible hour with Lev Parnas. I look forward to having him back in 2 weeks, and hopefully we can have his son is a great election protection activist, so we can hopefully have him next week. Dave Saltman, you're in New York. Go ahead, Dave. Salty.
Hi.
Hey.
I just wanted to, I said this about 6 months or a few months ago on the program, but it's not too late, Harvey Wasserman, sluggo, to challenge Joe Rogan on the nuclear issue. If you want to make this high profile overnight, you can do it. You have to go and tell him, Joe, I've been training up since you brought that idiot, who's the filmmaker?
Oliver Stone.
Since you brought that Palooka Oliver Stone on last time, and I'm ready for you, baby. And I've got and tell him, call him out.
All right.
Go
I like
overnight.
Oliver Stone.
You can make
Oliver Stone. I like Oliver Stone, but he's wrong about
likable.
nuclear.
And he's a good interviewer. He's really a real journalist, believe it or not. You know.
All right.
Go after him.
Well, I'll tell him I've been using this stuff on my hair and it's worked. So we should have a good debate.
He'll have a great time. Honestly, he'll fall in love with you, and you'll go back many times as a guest.
But Dave, you're in New York. What we should do is set up an event for Lev Parnas.
Okay, I'll help you.
We'll do that. We'll work with ILENE, but we should have him in Manhattan. Maybe we'll get with what's his name, the lawyer who's disbarred.
Michael Cohen.
No, not Michael Cohen. Our guy,
Steve Donziger.
Steve Donziger.
Okay.
But Michael Cohen would be also. I think Michael Cohen's in New York, so we should do an event in New York. I'll be back next month.
Okay,
And,
I'll help you whatever you need.
All right, let's do it. Absolutely. We could go to Kirschbaum's house.
Salty, can you get him hooked up with Rogan? You got a contact for Rogan or Eileen? Maybe Eileen can work on that.
Eileen, yeah, we should get.
He can't resist the challenge. He's a wrestler. He can't walk away from this.
Well, Eileen can probably get him to have Lev Parnas on. That would be good, and then maybe we can go from there. That would be terrific.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Light the snake's head off. Get close.
All right, four more minutes. Anybody want to jump in? Thanks, Dave. That's great. Carl Grossman, did you want to say something, Carl?
No, it was a very strong interview.
Boy, he's a powerful dude, Lev Parnas. Very, very nice guy. You know, and grew up with the mob. That's all. Everybody's so fascinated by the mob, right? I showed my kids, by the way, both Godfather movies, and I gotta say, I've seen them like 4 or 5 times. They are so grim. I forgot how depressing those movies are. The Godfather 1 and 2, they're great movies. There is not a single moment in either film, either Godfather film, where you laugh. I mean, most films, even dark films, there's usually one moment of comic relief. In neither Godfather film is there a single moment of comic relief. And the third one, which I can't bear to watch, is even darker. I mean, in that one, he kills his own daughter. So anyway, what can I tell you? All right, listen, you guys. Thank you, Steve, again for great engineering. Mike, thank you. MYLA, ILENE Proctor, thank you for bringing us Lev Parnas. Next week, hopefully, Mimi will have a mayor's report and a poem from you. And anybody else want to jump in the last minute here before we sign off? So
So-
it's 71 people with
Yeah,
us.
real quick. It's Anthony Delgado is the guy in New York. He's the lieutenant governor, just to kind of keep an eye out for him. Anthony Delgado.
Oh,
And
good.
and I'm also advising a really strong candidate up in New Hampshire, because New Hampshire is just filled with center-right Democrats. They're all blue dogs. Karishma Manzoor is her name. I'm advising her campaign. So just wanted to flag that one for you. I'll come back and give you updates on that as well. Thank you so much, Harvey, and thanks to the great crowd. You guys are amazing.
It was phenomenal. What a wonderful group of people. Nicole Ung, go ahead, Nicole. Are you unmuted?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Nicole.
I wanted to remind people again about Florida being like the testing ground for the takeover, and the money that DeSantis, the governor of Florida, is spending, is outrageous, and you need to study what's happening in Florida and how to fight back, because what happens in Florida is going to happen in the rest of the other red states, and then the other blue states.
Absolutely.
Concentration camps. Yeah,
Thank you for
concentration
that.
camps. Yeah.
Thank you, Nicole. And Lev was in Florida, by the way. Lauren Taylor and then Mike Hurst, you'll get the last word.
I just want to state for the record that The Godfather 1 and 2 are like, part of the revealed truths, kind of like on par with like Bhagavad Gita and the Lotus Sutra. So I just want to state that for the record, okay?
Behold, I am death, destroyer of the worlds. That's what Robert Oppenheimer said when he blew up at Trinity. All right, thank you, Lauren, for that. Mike, let's sign off. Thank you, everybody. What a great group of people. We will be back next week. We're going to talk about the 26th election and this scenario of running single issue candidates. Go ahead, Mike.
You have a quick announcement. PDA is going to be having our disabilities organizing team Zoom this Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. There's important ongoing organizing. People in the disabled community are feeling a lot of pressure with the cuts that Trump is imposing, pulling out support that they've depended on. The link is in the chat. Please click on that link and register. We're going to be having that meeting on Wednesday.
And remember, everybody, go to Lev Parnas's Substack and get his book and see those movies. What an amazing session. Thank you, everybody. No nukes. It's 4 o'clock. Here is 7 in the East. We will see you next week. And wow,